Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about moving around. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, thanks for the video, it was informative. It was posted on another video that I made called What is the difference between cloud engineers and DevOps engineers? I have an unrelated question. Which IT field job will give me the opportunity to travel to different places and countries? I'm in my last semester of my CS degree and still unsure about what to do next. I would like to do it. I would like to do a job. Do it with a job involving lots of traveling. I would like to visit different places. So there is no IT job in terms of how to put this. So guys, I know that this might be sound a little bit weird, but there are some jobs that organically involve traveling in some cases, such as an example would be sales. But that also sort of depends on what types of sales you're in and so forth. And then there are project management, like, and so forth. Different companies have different needs, if that makes sense. Coordinators and things like that might do a lot of traveling, and management and so forth as well, of course. But if you just want to travel a lot, software developer is probably the way to go. And the reason why I say that is because fundamentally, the traveling part, you can travel for work purposes. In other words, like, you are paid to go and visit different places. My suggestion to you is to probably not try to go that route, because that's something that I myself have been doing, and other coworkers of mine as well, where the only reason, like, you're sort of always, like, everything is the hotel room, you're always going somewhere just to be in a meeting somewhere usually, and then you have some free time and then you go home again, right? So what I suggest to you is, instead of doing that, is to just go for software developer. The reason being, very simply, that if you are a software developer, you can work remotely. Since COVID hit and so forth, it's getting more increasingly. It's going from that people think of it as a nice thing to work remotely to that it is sort of expected to have that option. And the companies who are not understanding that, they're actually losing ground at this point. And so that's the dangerous part about having a workforce which has certain expectations and at the same time are in a scarcity situation, because even if you demand that people should come into the office, unless you there's really, you can flail around all you want, because you need them more than they need you usually. And so I have coworkers who do this exact thing. They are what I think that the trend term for it is like IT or digital nomads or things like that, where they don't actually have a permanent residence at all. Like, they do Airbnb things and things like that. And they usually move around. I think in the year or so I've known one of my coworkers, he has moved three times, I think, something like that. And it's really because certain seasons are, he is into snowboarding and skiing and surfing and like all these sorts of things. So he moves around between like France, the UK, like around in Europe basically, because he's from from Europe. And he still works with us, like just as I do. I mean, I do the remote thing as well. It's just that I don't move around. And most of my coworkers do the same thing. My current team is practically all remote. It's only really one or two of us who are in the area of like the main offices of the company that we work for. So the reason why I think that this is a good option for you is because basically, if you work as a freelance, not a freelancer per se, but a remote consultant, you can work for the most lucrative company in the world. That it might be based somewhere, but you can live wherever you want, because you never have to go into the office. So that gives you that option. I want to raise my finger though and say something, and that is that this guy, like the people that I know who do this, are usually experienced software developers who have like a fairly, like they are able to sort of work autonomously. It's not like they are isolated per se, which is one of the. It's a very dangerous thing when you do remote work. It's very important that you don't get isolated. I've said that in an old video as well. But they also have the sort of experience where they're sort of able to work as consultants and like pick their companies and kind of like do whatever because they are sort of stable as software developers. And as long as you know that you sort of have a steady flow, like you're stable in your career, if that makes sense, this is a very feasible option. And it's in a sense, if I were more inclined to move around and feel the need for it, that's probably the same sort of thing I would do. Simply because I'm not a big fan. I'm at the personal level not a strong believer in committing too much to possessions and housing and things like that, because I prefer to be autonomous. And if you are looking for the same sort of deal, this is a very good option for you to pick, because even though you can do sort of the same thing with a lot of different, I mean, there are a lot of IT professions where remote work is like an option. The reason why a software developer is a very good fit is because it is the job that is in highest demand. So your overall chance of finding work in any country, even if you want to, it doesn't really matter if you work in that country or if you have to work remotely, your chances at getting a stable stream of income, regardless of where you move, is fairly high because the demand is enormous. So what I want you to take away from this is that well, if you want to move around and travel the globe, it used to be the case that you became like a flight attendant, or you became a a travel guide or something like that. Today it's software developer, I would say. There is no profession, maybe apart from doctors and things like that, that is as universally in demand as the software developer at this point. And the added benefit is that you don't actually have to work with a company that is in the country that you find yourself in, because remote work is a very feasible thing for you as a software developer. And you can actually just do only remote consultancy, or like you don't even have to be a consultant. Some of my friends have been on like sabbatical type of things where they worked with my company that was at that time in Sweden, but they were backpacking through India and still checked in sort of like the same hours, like, or so forth and so forth, because that is the culture of software developers and like flex hours and so forth. There's a lot of things that make it very feasible for you to not even necessarily have a permanent residence when you are a software developer. It's very important to consider though that you have to have some stability, so that you know that you can you have to feel the waters a little bit, because it might be that maybe you have to get a year or something under your belt and sort of stabilize and get some really good hands-on experience so that you can continuously find work. But once you feel that you can do that, then it's really nothing really is stopping you. It really is down to you how you want to do things, because a lot of people are looking at this as an alternative to doing the sort of thing that we've been traditionally doing, which is to stay in one place, work at that specific company or something like that for an extended period of time. I have tons of friends who do this, and well, as I said, it's not right. It's something that it's right for me, but I know for a fact that it is a pretty stable way of living, and it's pretty great if you want to see the world. Have a great day.